Bone Spears and Starships. Presence. Orbital Dawn. Chapter 1. The Final Countdown. The year was 2045. A hush had fallen over the Astrodynamics launch facility, an isolated marvel of engineering hidden deep in the deserts of New Mexico. Underneath the dark sky, a colossal rocket stood on the launchpad, its gleaming body illuminated by powerful floodlights. Inside the facility, the atmosphere was charged with anticipation and tension as the final preparations for the mission were underway. Commander David Hamilton stood in the center of the control room, his tall, commanding presence a source of calm amidst the frenetic activity. His steely blue eyes scanned the monitors, absorbing the streams of data with practiced ease. David had been an astronaut for over 2 decades, but this mission was unlike any other. This was the first manned mission to Mars, a project kept in absolute secrecy by Astrodynamics, away from prying eyes and governmental red tape. "All systems are go, Commander," said Sarah Robinson, the ship's lead engineer, her voice steady despite the magnitude of the moment. Sarah was in her early 30s, with sharp features and an intensity that belied her youth. She had been instrumental in designing many of the ship's critical systems, her innovative mind pushing the boundaries of current technology. David nodded, a hint of a smile playing at the corners of his mouth. "Good work, Sarah. Let's keep it that way." Rebecca Hartman, the mission's astrobiologist, was already strapped into her seat in the spacecraft. Her eyes, bright with excitement, were fixed on her tablet as she went through her pre-launch checklist. Rebecca was driven by a passion for discovery, her mind constantly brimming with questions about the unknown. The thought of potentially finding signs of past life on Mars was what had driven her to be part of this groundbreaking mission. In the pilot's seat, Andrew Palmer adjusted his harness, his fingers dancing over the controls. Andrew was a man of few words, his focus and determination evident in every movement. He had been handpicked for his exceptional piloting skills and his ability to remain calm under pressure, though his stoic demeanor often masked a turbulent past. Nathaniel Price, the medical officer, conducted his final checks on the crew's health monitors. Nathaniel's warm, reassuring presence was a vital counterbalance to the high-stress environment of space travel. He had a knack for sensing when a crew member needed support, whether physical or psychological, and his calm demeanor was a source of comfort to everyone aboard. 5 minutes to launch, announced the disembodied voice of the launch director over the intercom. The room fell silent, every eye turning to the countdown clock. David keyed his microphone. "Crew, this is Commander Hamilton. We've trained for this moment for years. Stay sharp, stay focused, and we'll make history today. Let's go to Mars." The countdown continued, each second stretching into eternity. The crew's collective heartbeat seemed to synchronize with the ticking clock, a steady, relentless march towards their destiny. 4, 3, 2, 1, ignition. The rocket's engines roared to life, a deafening sound that reverberated through the control room. The spacecraft trembled as the forces of gravity fought to keep it grounded. Then, with a mighty surge, it broke free, soaring into the sky with a trail of fire and smoke. Inside the ship, the crew felt the immense pressure of liftoff. Their bodies pressed into their seats as the G-forces took hold. David kept his eyes on the instruments, his hands steady on the controls. Andrew's grip tightened as he guided the ship through the atmosphere, his face a mask of concentration. "Altitude 10,000 meters and climbing," Sarah reported, her voice clear and precise. "All systems functioning within normal parameters." Rebecca stole a glance out the window, watching the Earth recede below them. The blue and green planet looked serene from this height, a stark contrast to the adrenaline-pumping reality inside the spacecraft. Minutes later, the ship reached the edge of space. The G-forces eased, and the crew felt the shift to microgravity. David's voice came over the intercom, steady and authoritative. "Stage 1 complete. Prepare for main engine cutoff and stage separation." With a series of controlled bursts, the main engines shut down, and the first stage of the rocket detached, falling away into the void. The second stage ignited, propelling the spacecraft further into orbit. "Second stage burn complete," Andrew announced. "We're on our way." A collective sigh of relief filled the cabin. They had made it past the first critical hurdle, The journey to Mars had truly begun. In the quiet that followed, David allowed himself a moment to reflect. They were venturing into the unknown, pioneers on a path that would redefine humanity's place in the cosmos. The responsibility weighed heavily on his shoulders, but he welcomed it. They had trained for this, sacrificed for this, and now they were living it. All stations, report status, David commanded, bringing his focus back to the task at hand. Engineering systems nominal, Sarah reported, her voice carrying a note of pride. Life support and medical systems stable, Nathaniel added, his usual calm evident. Navigation on course, Andrew confirmed. Scientific equipment functioning as expected, Rebecca said, her excitement barely contained. David smiled. Good. Let's keep it that way. We've got a long journey ahead. As the spacecraft settled into its course, the crew began to adjust to their new environment. Microgravity presented its own set of challenges, but each member of the team was prepared. They moved with careful precision, securing loose items and ensuring everything was in its proper place. David floated to the observation window, staring out at the vast expanse of space. Stars glittered against the blackness, and in the distance, he could see their destination. A small red that was Mars. It was humbling, seeing how far they had to go, but also exhilarating. We're really doing this, Rebecca said, joining him at the window. David nodded. Yes, we are. And we're going to make it. One step at a time. Rebecca smiled, her eyes filled with determination. To Mars and beyond. The journey ahead was fraught with challenges, but together, they would face whatever came their way. United by a common goal, they were ready to write their chapter in the history of exploration. Chapter 2. Liftoff. 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition. The roar of the rocket's engines was deafening, even inside the heavily insulated cabin of the Vanguard. The spacecraft shuddered violently as it fought against the relentless pull of Earth's gravity. Strapped into their seats, the crew felt the crushing force of the G-forces pinning them down. Commander David Hamilton kept his eyes on the instruments, his hands steady on the controls. His voice, calm and authoritative, cut through the cacophony. Stay focused, everyone. We're on our way. Andrew Palmer, the pilot, gripped the controls tightly, his knuckles white. Despite his stoic demeanor, the intensity of the moment was etched into his features. He had flown countless simulations, but nothing could truly prepare one for the real thing. The launch control room back at the Astrodynamics facility was a hive of activity. Engineers and technicians monitored every aspect of the launch, their eyes glued to screens displaying streams of data. Sarah Robinson's voice came through the intercom, clear and precise. All systems are go. Altitude 10,000 meters and climbing. Rebecca Hartman, the astrobiologist, felt a thrill of excitement as the spacecraft ascended. She glanced out the small window next to her seat, watching as the blue and green expanse of Earth began to shrink away. The sight was breathtaking, a stark reminder of the enormity of their mission. Nathaniel Price, the medical officer, kept a close watch on the crew's vital signs. His role was crucial, ensuring that each member of the team remained healthy and capable of performing their duties. The G-forces were intense, but so far, everyone was holding up well. Approaching first stage separation, David announced. Prepare for stage 1 cutoff. The engines roared one last time before shutting down, leaving an eerie silence. The crew felt a momentary weightlessness before the second stage ignited, propelling them further into the sky. The first stage detached, falling away into the void below. Stage 1 complete, Andrew confirmed, his voice steady. Second stage burn is nominal. As the second stage continued to burn, the Vanguard surged forward, its trajectory curving gracefully toward the edge of space. The tension in the cabin began to ease as the crew adapted to the sensation of weightlessness. David floated slightly above his seat, securing a handhold to steady himself. Good work, everyone. We've cleared the first hurdle. Let's stay sharp. Sarah's voice came through the intercom again, a note of pride in her tone. All systems are functioning within normal parameters. We're on course. Life support and medical systems stable, Nathaniel reported, his usual calm evident even in the extraordinary circumstances. Navigation is on track, Andrew added. Scientific equipment is operational, Rebecca chimed in, her excitement barely contained. David allowed himself a brief smile. Excellent. Let's keep it that way. We've got a long journey ahead. As the spacecraft settled into its orbit, the crew began to adjust to the new environment. Microgravity was disorienting at first, but each member of the team had undergone extensive training to handle it. They moved with deliberate care, securing loose items and ensuring everything was in its proper place. Rebecca floated over to the observation window, her eyes wide with wonder. "Look at that," she murmured, staring out at the vast expanse of space. Stars glittered like diamonds against the blackness, and in the distance, she could see Mars, a small red on the horizon. David joined her, his expression one of quiet determination. "It's humbling, isn't it? Knowing how far we have to go, but also how far we've come." Rebecca nodded, her voice filled with resolve. To Mars and beyond. The journey ahead was daunting, but they were ready. United by a common goal, the crew of the Vanguard was determined to make history. With each passing moment, they drew closer to their destination, the red planet that had captured humanity's imagination for centuries. The silence of space enveloped them, a stark contrast to the controlled chaos of the launch. Now, the real challenge began. The Vanguard sped toward Mars, carrying the hopes and dreams of everyone at Astrodynamics, and perhaps, one day, the entire human race. Chapter 3: Journey Through Space. The Vanguard cruised through the dark expanse of space, a solitary beacon of human ambition on its way to Mars. Days blended into each other as the crew settled into their routines, each member focused on their respective duties. The journey was long, and the monotony of space travel posed its own set of challenges. David Hamilton maintained his quiet leadership from the command module, his strategic thinking ensuring that the mission stayed on course. He spent hours each day analyzing data, planning for potential obstacles, and maintaining communication with the team back at Astrodynamics. His calm demeanor and steady presence provided a sense of stability to the crew, even when tensions ran high. Rebecca Hartman's enthusiasm for her research was palpable. She meticulously documented every experiment, eagerly anticipating the day they would finally reach Mars and she could begin her astrobiological studies in earnest. Her passion was infectious, often lifting the crew's spirits during moments of doubt. Andrew Palmer, the pilot, grappled with his own internal struggles. Despite his expertise, he was haunted by a fear of failure. The mission to Mars was his chance to prove himself, to overcome the shadows of his past. He spent his downtime reviewing flight data and running simulations, determined to be ready for any challenge that might arise. Sarah Robinson's innovative mind was constantly at work. She was responsible for ensuring that the ship's systems remained operational, a task that required both technical skill and creative problem-solving. Her resourcefulness was invaluable, particularly in the unpredictable environment of space. Nathaniel Price took care of the crew's physical and mental health, his warm presence a reassuring constant. He conducted regular health checks, monitored the crew's psychological well-being, and provided support whenever it was needed. His ability to sense when someone was struggling and offer a compassionate ear helped maintain the crew's cohesion. Life aboard the Vanguard was a series of routines interspersed with moments of discovery and camaraderie. Meals were shared in the common area. Conversations ranged from lighthearted banter to deep discussions about their mission and the future of space exploration. Each crew member had their own way of coping with the isolation and the vast emptiness surrounding them. One evening, as they gathered for dinner, Rebecca excitedly shared her latest findings. "I've been analyzing the mineral samples we brought from Earth, simulating Martian conditions. The results are promising. There's a good chance we'll find evidence of past microbial life on Mars." David smiled, his eyes reflecting the crew's shared excitement. "That's great news, Rebecca. Every day we get closer, the more real this mission becomes." Andrew, usually reserved, joined the conversation. "I've been running simulations for our approach and landing sequences. We've got a solid plan, but we need to be ready for anything." Sarah nodded, her mind already racing with contingency plans. "We've got backup systems in place, but we'll need to stay vigilant. Mars isn't going to give up its secrets easily." Nathaniel added, "And we need to take care of ourselves, too. We've come a long way, and we've got a lot more to do. Let's make sure we're in the best shape possible when we get there." Their conversation was cut short by a sudden alarm. The ship's systems detected an incoming solar storm, a massive surge of solar particles that could pose a serious threat to their mission. David's voice was calm but urgent. "Solar storm detected. We need to act fast. Sarah, what's our status?" Sarah quickly assessed the situation. "We've got about 20 minutes before the storm hits. We need to initiate protective protocols immediately." David turned to the crew. "Andrew, Rebecca, secure all sensitive equipment and experiments. Nathaniel, make sure everyone's secured in the safe areas. Sarah, let's get the shield systems online." The crew sprang into action, each member executing their tasks with practiced efficiency. Andrew and Rebecca worked together to secure the scientific equipment, their movements precise and coordinated. Nathaniel ensured that everyone was safely positioned in the shielded areas of the ship, providing reassurances as he went. Sarah and David activated the ship's protective systems, deploying radiation shields and rerouting power to essential systems. The tension in the cabin was palpable as the countdown to the storm's arrival ticked away. "Shields are up," Sarah reported. "We're as ready as we can be." David nodded, his gaze steady. "Brace for impact." The solar storm hit with a force that shook the entire ship. The Vanguard trembled as particles bombarded the hull, the radiation shields absorbing the brunt of the impact. Inside, the crew felt the vibrations, their hearts pounding as they weathered the storm. Minutes passed, each one feeling like an eternity. The ship held steady, the protective measures proving effective. Finally, the storm began to subside, the violent shaking easing into a gentle hum. David's voice broke the silence. "Status report." Sarah checked the systems. "Shields held. Minimal damage to external sensors. We're intact." Nathaniel quickly assessed the crew. "Everyone's stable. No injuries." Andrew let out a breath he didn't realize he'd been holding. "We made it." Rebecca's voice was filled with relief. "And the equipment? The experiments?" Sarah nodded. "Everything's secure. We've got some repairs to do, but nothing critical." David allowed himself a small smile. "Good work, team. Let's take a moment to catch our breath, then get started on repairs. We've got a mission to complete." As the crew began to recover from the ordeal, the sense of unity and resilience among them was stronger than ever. They had faced their first major challenge and emerged victorious, their bond solidified by the shared experience. The journey to Mars was far from over, but the crew of the Vanguard was ready for whatever came next. Together, they would navigate the vastness of space, driven by the promise of discovery and the determination to succeed. Chapter 4: Solar Storm. The solar storm hit with a fury that no simulation could have truly prepared them for. The Vanguard shuddered as the solar particles slammed into it, sending power fluctuations rippling through the ship. The lights flickered, and the hum of the engines faltered, replaced by an eerie silence. "Shields are holding, but we're experiencing significant power fluctuations," Sarah reported, her voice steady despite the chaos around her. "Critical systems are being compromised." David Hamilton took a deep breath, his mind racing. "Sarah, Andrew, prioritize power to life support and navigation. Rebecca, secure the scientific equipment. Nathaniel, be ready for any medical emergencies." Andrew Palmer's fingers flew over the controls, rerouting power to essential systems. "We're losing power to non-essential systems. I'm diverting everything we've got to life support and navigation." Sarah Robinson worked beside him, her mind already formulating solutions to the myriad problems cropping up on the monitors. "We've got damage to the external sensors and the communication array. I'll need to manually override some systems to stabilize the power grid." Rebecca Hartman secured the delicate scientific instruments, her movements precise and methodical. The samples and equipment were vital to their mission, and she couldn't afford to lose anything. "Scientific equipment is secure," she called out, her voice tense but controlled. David turned his attention to the ship's navigation, working to keep the Vanguard on course despite the storm's battering. "Rebecca, assist me with the navigation. We need to maintain our trajectory." Rebecca moved to his side, her fingers dancing over the controls. Together, they worked to stabilize the ship's course, their minds in perfect sync. "We're holding, But the storm is throwing us off by a few degrees, she said. Nathaniel Price kept a close watch on the crew's vitals, ready to respond to any signs of radiation exposure. As the storm intensified, he noticed a spike in Sarah's readings. "Sarah, I'm seeing elevated radiation levels. You need to step back from the repairs." "I can't," Sarah replied, her voice strained. "We need to stabilize the power grid, or we'll lose life support." Nathaniel's tone was firm. "Sarah, listen to me. You're risking radiation sickness. Let Andrew handle it." Andrew glanced at Sarah, his face set with determination. "I've got this, Sarah. Take a break." Reluctantly, Sarah stepped back, allowing Andrew to take over the manual overrides. Nathaniel moved quickly to her side, administering a dose of medication to counteract the radiation exposure. "You're going to be okay," he said, his voice reassuring. The ship continued to tremble as the storm raged on. David and Rebecca worked tirelessly to keep the Vanguard on course, their concentration unwavering. Andrew's hands were steady as he manipulated the controls, rerouting power and stabilizing the grid. Sarah monitored his progress, providing guidance and support. Minutes felt like hours as the crew battled the storm. The ship's systems strained under the pressure, alarms blaring as each new issue arose. Yet, through it all, the crew remained focused and united, their training and determination driving them forward. Finally, the storm began to subside, the violent shaking easing into a gentle hum. The lights stabilized, and the hum of the engines returned, signaling that the worst was over. David's voice broke the tense silence. "Status report." Andrew wiped the sweat from his brow. "Power grid is stable. We've got some damage to external systems, but nothing we can't fix." Rebecca checked the navigation. "We're back on course. We lost a few degrees, but we're correcting it." Nathaniel finished his scan of Sarah. "Radiation exposure is under control. Everyone's stable." David allowed himself a small smile of relief. "Good work, team. We've made it through. Let's take a moment to catch our breath, then start on repairs." As the crew settled back into their stations, the sense of unity and resilience among them was stronger than ever. They had faced a major challenge and emerged victorious, their bond solidified by the shared experience. Sarah looked at Andrew, gratitude in her eyes. "Thanks for stepping in, Andrew. I couldn't have done it without you." Andrew shrugged, a rare smile crossing his face. "We're a team. We look out for each other." Rebecca joined them, her excitement tempered by the ordeal. "We're on track again. We're going to make it." David nodded, his expression one of quiet determination. "We've proven we can handle anything that comes our way. Let's get these repairs done and keep moving forward." The crew of the Vanguard began their work, each member contributing their skills and expertise to ensure the ship was ready for the next leg of their journey. The solar storm had tested them, but it had also brought them closer together, forging a stronger, more united team. As they worked, the vastness of space stretched out before them, a reminder of the challenges and discoveries that lay ahead. The journey to Mars was far from over, but the crew was ready for whatever came next. United by a common goal and strengthened by their shared experiences, they would navigate the void, driven by the promise of discovery and the determination to succeed. Chapter 5: Deep Space. The Vanguard sailed through the vast emptiness of space, the immediate danger of the solar storm behind them. Though the ship was now stabilized, the crew approached their mission with renewed vigilance. They knew the journey was far from over, and that the challenges ahead would test their resolve and ingenuity. David Hamilton floated in the command module, meticulously reviewing the ship systems. The aftermath of the storm had left him even more determined to ensure every detail was accounted for. His thoughts wandered briefly to his family back on Earth, the sacrifices they had made for him to be here, and the promise he had made to return. Rebecca Hartman was in the science lab, engrossed in her research. The storm had delayed her experiments, but now she was back on track. Her mind often drifted to her childhood, spent gazing at the stars through her telescope. She had always been fascinated by the idea of life beyond Earth. Her father, a respected astronomer, had instilled in her a passion for the unknown. His untimely death had only fueled her desire to continue his legacy. Andrew Palmer sat in the cockpit, running diagnostics on the navigation systems. His stoic exterior masked a turbulent past. He remembered the day his brother, a fellow pilot, had died in a tragic accident. The guilt and grief had nearly consumed him, but this mission was his chance to honor his brother's memory and prove his worth. Sarah Robinson worked tirelessly in the engineering bay, her innovative mind constantly at work. She recalled her early years, tinkering with machines in her father's garage. Her parents had always encouraged her curiosity, leading her to become one of the youngest engineers in her field. This mission was her opportunity to push the boundaries of technology and make her mark on history. Nathaniel Price checked the medical equipment, his thoughts drifting to his patients back on Earth. He had always felt a calling to help others, a drive that led him to become a doctor. His wife, a fellow physician, had supported him every step of the way, understanding the importance of this mission. He carried a photo of her and their 2 children, a reminder of why he needed to return safely. As the days passed, the crew settled into a rhythm. Their daily routines provided a sense of normalcy in the vast unknown. Meals were shared in the common area, conversations ranging from lighthearted banter to deep discussions about their mission and the future of space exploration. Rebecca's research consumed much of her time. She meticulously analyzed the mineral samples, her excitement growing with each new discovery. One day, as she examined a particularly intriguing sample, she felt a surge of exhilaration. "David, you need to see this," she called out, her voice trembling with excitement. David floated over, peering at the data on her screen. "What is it, Rebecca?" "These mineral samples," Rebecca explained. "They show signs of past microbial life. It's not definitive yet, but the patterns are unmistakable." David's eyes widened. "Are you saying we've found evidence of life on Mars?" Rebecca nodded, her eyes shining. "Potentially, yes. This could be the breakthrough we've been hoping for." The news spread quickly through the ship, lifting the crew's spirits. They gathered in the lab, each member contributing their expertise to verify Rebecca's findings. The data was promising, but they knew they needed more evidence. As they worked, flashbacks revealed more about their lives. Sarah remembered the late nights in her parents' garage, her father's proud smile as she disassembled and reassembled engines. Andrew thought of his brother, their shared dream of exploring the stars. Nathaniel recalled his first days as a doctor, the sense of fulfillment in saving lives. David remembered the promise he made to his family, and Rebecca felt her father's presence, guiding her hand. The days stretched into weeks, the endless void of space a constant reminder of their isolation. Yet, the crew found solace in each other's company and in the pursuit of their mission. Rebecca's research continued to yield promising results, each new discovery bringing them closer to understanding Mars's history. One evening, as they gathered for dinner, Rebecca shared her latest findings. "I've been analyzing the mineral samples, and I believe we're on the verge of a significant breakthrough. The patterns indicate not just microbial life, but possibly a complex ecosystem." David nodded thoughtfully. "If this is true, it will change everything we know about life in the universe." Sarah's eyes gleamed with excitement. "We need to prepare for our arrival. Ensure all systems are ready for the landing and the scientific equipment is functioning at optimal levels." Andrew added, "I'll run additional simulations to make sure our approach and landing sequences are flawless." Nathaniel smiled, his voice filled with hope. "And I'll make sure we're all in peak condition. We need to be at our best for this historic moment." The crew's renewed sense of purpose drove them forward. They worked tirelessly, their focus unwavering. The journey was far from over, but they were closer than ever to achieving their goal. As the Vanguard sailed through the depths of space, the crew knew they were on the brink of making history. United by a common purpose and strengthened by their shared experiences, they faced the unknown with courage and determination. The red planet loomed closer, a symbol of humanity's quest for knowledge and exploration. The crew of the Vanguard was ready to uncover its secrets, driven by the promise of discovery and the dream of a new era in space exploration. Chapter 6. Nearing Mars. The Vanguard drew closer to Mars, the red planet growing larger in the viewport with each passing hour. The crew could feel the tension building as they approached their destination. This was the culmination of years of preparation, and they were determined to make it a success. David Hamilton floated in the command module, his eyes scanning the control panels. "All right, everyone," he called out. "We're nearing orbital insertion. Let's run through our final checks." Andrew Palmer, seated in the cockpit, nodded in agreement. Navigation systems are online. Running final diagnostics now. Rebecca Hartman and Sarah Robinson were in the lab, securing the scientific equipment. "All instruments are locked down and ready," Rebecca reported. Sarah checked the ship systems one last time. "Life support and environmental controls are stable. Shields are at full strength." Nathaniel Price moved through the cabin, ensuring that each crew member was mentally and physically prepared for the high-stress situation. "Vitals are normal. Everyone's holding up well." David took a deep breath. "Good. Let's get this right. Andrew, initiate orbital insertion sequence." Andrew's fingers moved over the controls with practiced precision. The ship's thrusters fired, beginning the complex maneuver to bring them into orbit around Mars. The crew watched the monitors intently, every detail critical. Suddenly, an alarm blared. The ship lurched, and the monitors flashed red. "Navigation error," Andrew shouted. "We're off course." David's heart pounded. "What's the status?" Andrew's eyes were wide with urgency. "We've got a critical error in the navigation system. If we don't correct it now, we'll miss our window for orbital insertion." David's mind raced. "Sarah, can you identify the problem?" Sarah's fingers flew over the keyboard. "It's a malfunction in the starboard thruster. We need to override the system manually." David nodded. "Andrew, prepare to manually adjust our trajectory. Rebecca, monitor our approach angle. Sarah, get that thruster back online. Nathaniel, keep everyone focused and calm." The crew sprang into action, their training kicking in. Andrew and David worked frantically to correct the ship's course, their hands steady despite the mounting pressure. "Adjusting angle," Andrew said, his voice tense. "We need to fire the port thruster at 75% to compensate." David nodded. "Ready on your mark." Rebecca's eyes were glued to the monitor. "Approach angle is still off. We need more correction." Andrew adjusted the controls. "Firing port thruster now." The ship shuddered as the thruster fired, but the angle still wasn't right. "We're not there yet," Rebecca said, her voice tight with worry. "We need more adjustment." Sarah's voice came through the intercom. "I'm in the engineering bay. I've identified the issue with the starboard thruster. It's a faulty relay. I can bypass it, but it's risky." David's voice was calm but urgent. "Do it, Sarah. We don't have a choice." Sarah worked quickly, her hands moving with the precision of years of experience. "Bypassing relay now." The ship shuddered again, and the starboard thruster roared to life. "Thruster online," Sarah reported. "Andrew, you should have full control." Andrew's eyes were intense as he adjusted the ship's trajectory. "Correcting course, hold on." The Vanguard groaned under the strain as the thrusters fired in unison. The crew held their breath, the tension palpable. Rebecca's eyes widened. "We're back on track. Approach angle is stabilizing." David's voice was filled with relief. "Good work, everyone. Let's finish this." Andrew fine-tuned the controls, guiding the ship into its final approach. "Initiating orbital insertion sequence, now." The thrusters fired one last time, and the ship slipped into orbit around Mars. The monitors flashed green, signaling their success. "We did it," David said, a smile spreading across his face. "We're in orbit." The crew let out a collective sigh of relief. Nathaniel moved through the cabin, checking on each member. "Vitals are normal. Everyone's stable." Sarah emerged from the engineering bay, a triumphant look on her face. "Thrusters holding steady. We're good to go." Rebecca's eyes were filled with wonder as she gazed at the red planet below. "We're here. We're really here." David floated to the viewport, joining Rebecca. "This is just the beginning," he said quietly. "We've got a lot of work ahead of us, but we made it." Andrew joined them, his usual stoic demeanor softened by a rare smile. "We're making history." Sarah and Nathaniel floated over, the entire crew united by their shared achievement. Together, they gazed at Mars, the red planet that had captured humanity's imagination for centuries. David's voice was filled with determination. "Let's get to work. We've got a mission to complete." The crew of the Vanguard set to their tasks, each member contributing their expertise to ensure the success of their mission. They had faced a critical challenge and emerged stronger, their bond forged in the crucible of space. As they orbited Mars, the vastness of space stretched out before them, a reminder of the challenges and discoveries that lay ahead. United by a common goal and strengthened by their shared experiences, they were ready to uncover the secrets of the Red Planet and make history. Chapter 7. Orbital Insertion. The Vanguard soared through the void of space, Mars growing larger and more defined with each passing moment. The ship's final approach to the Red Planet was a high-stakes maneuver that required absolute precision and coordination. The crew's nerves were taut, the weight of their mission pressing down on them as they prepared for orbital insertion. David Hamilton's voice broke the tense silence in the command module. All stations, report status. Andrew Palmer, his eyes fixed on the navigation controls, responded first. Navigation systems are green. Thrusters are online and ready. Sarah Robinson, in the engineering bay, added, all systems are stable. Shields and power grid are holding steady. Rebecca Hartman, her voice tinged with excitement, said, scientific equipment is secure and operational. Nathaniel Price, checking the crew's vitals, reported, crew is stable. Everyone's ready. David took a deep breath, his voice calm and steady. Initiate final approach sequence. Andrew's hands moved over the controls with practiced precision. The ship's thrusters fired in controlled bursts, adjusting the Vanguard's trajectory for the delicate maneuver. The crew felt the ship shudder as it responded to each correction, the tension in the cabin palpable. Approach angle is good, Rebecca called out, her eyes glued to the monitor. We're on target. Steady as she goes, David said, his eyes scanning the data. Maintain course. The Vanguard's thrusters fired again, a series of controlled bursts guiding the ship into the optimal trajectory for orbital insertion. The crew watched the monitors intently, every detail critical in these final moments. Prepare for main engine burn, Andrew announced, his voice steady but intense. David's voice was firm. On my mark 3, 2, 1 burn. The ship's main engines roared to life, a powerful surge that propelled the Vanguard into its final approach. The force pressed the crew into their seats, their bodies straining against the G-forces. The hum of the engines filled the cabin, a deafening reminder of the stakes. Rebecca monitored the approach angle, her voice tense. We're holding steady. Angle is good. Sarah kept a close watch on the systems, ready to respond to any fluctuation. Power levels are stable. Shields are holding. Nathaniel checked the crew's vitals, ensuring everyone was coping with the stress. All readings are within normal parameters. The minutes stretched into an eternity as the Vanguard executed its high-stakes maneuver. The ship's thrusters fired in precise bursts, adjusting the trajectory with each correction. The crew's hearts pounded, their breaths shallow, as they edged closer to Mars. Final burn complete, Andrew announced, his voice filled with controlled relief. We're in the insertion window. David's eyes were locked on the monitors. Prepare for orbital insertion now. The ship's thrusters fired one last time, a final push that guided the Vanguard into its orbital path. The crew felt the ship shudder as it settled into a stable orbit, the tension in the cabin finally breaking. Rebecca's voice was filled with awe. We're in orbit. We did it. We're in orbit around Mars. The crew let out a collective sigh of relief, the weight of their achievement sinking in. They had done it. They had reached Mars. David floated to the viewport, his eyes widening as he took in the sight before him. The red planet stretched out below them, its surface a mesmerizing blend of rusty hues and shadowed valleys. The stark beauty of Mars was breathtaking, a reminder of the mission's significance. Rebecca joined him, her eyes shining with emotion. It's even more beautiful up close. We're really here. Andrew, his usual stoicism giving way to a rare smile, said, we made history. Sarah floated over, her gaze fixed on the planet below. All the years of hard work, the sacrifices, it's all worth it. Nathaniel's voice was filled with pride. This is just the beginning. We've got so much more to discover. The crew gathered at the viewport, united by their shared achievement. They had overcome immense challenges, their bond forged in the crucible of space. Together, they gazed at Mars, the culmination of their dreams and the promise of a new era in exploration. David's voice was filled with determination. "We've made it this far, and we're not stopping now. Let's get to work and make the most of this historic mission." As the Vanguard orbited Mars, the crew began their tasks, each member contributing their expertise to ensure the success of their mission. They had reached their destination, but the journey was far from over. United by a common goal and strengthened by their shared experiences, they were ready to uncover the secrets of the Red Planet. The vastness of space stretched out before them, a reminder of the challenges and discoveries that lay ahead. The crew of the Vanguard was prepared for whatever came next, driven by the promise of discovery and the dream of a new era in space exploration. Chapter 8. Mission Accomplished. The Vanguard glided smoothly in orbit around Mars, its mission nearing completion. Inside the ship, the atmosphere was one of quiet reflection and subdued celebration. The crew gathered in the common area, their expressions a mixture of exhaustion and exhilaration. David Hamilton stood at the center, his commanding presence as steady as ever. "We've done it," he said, his voice carrying the weight of their shared achievement. "We've made history. Each of you has played a crucial role in getting us here. Take a moment to reflect on what we've accomplished." Rebecca Hartman, her eyes still wide with wonder, spoke up first. "I still can't believe it. All those years of study, the endless nights in the lab, and now we're here. We've found evidence of past microbial life on Mars. This changes everything we know about life in the universe." Andrew Palmer nodded, a rare smile on his face. "This mission was a chance for me to honor my brother's memory. I felt him with me every step of the way. We made it, and I know he's proud." Sarah Robinson, ever the innovator, added, "We've pushed the boundaries of technology and engineering. What we've done here will pave the way for future missions. The repairs we made, the systems we stabilized, it's all a testament to human ingenuity and perseverance." Nathaniel Price, always the caretaker, looked around at his crew. "I've seen each of you at your best and your worst. We've faced incredible challenges, but we've come through stronger. The physical and mental resilience we've shown proves that we're ready for whatever comes next." David allowed himself a moment of quiet pride. This is just the beginning. Astrodynamics has big plans for the future. We'll continue to explore, to push the limits of what's possible. Our success here will inspire others to dream big and reach for the stars. The crew exchanged smiles and nods, the camaraderie they had built over the course of their journey stronger than ever. They had faced the unknown together, and their bond had been forged in the crucible of space. As they celebrated quietly, David's thoughts turned to the future. Astrodynamics had ambitious goals, establishing a permanent research station on Mars, exploring the possibility of human colonization, and even reaching further into the solar system. This mission was the first step in a long journey of discovery. "To future missions," David said, raising a small pouch of water and a toast. The crew followed suit, their expressions filled with determination and hope. "To the endless possibilities that lie ahead." The moment was poignant, a celebration of their triumphs and a promise of more to come. The crew took turns sharing their reflections, each story adding to the tapestry of their shared experience. They spoke of their families, their dreams, and the sacrifices they had made to be part of this historic mission. As the evening drew to a close, the crew gathered at the ship's main viewport. Mars loomed large and majestic below them, its rusty surface bathed in the soft glow of the setting sun. The planet's stark beauty was a powerful reminder of the mission's significance and the vast potential of human exploration. David stood at the forefront, his eyes fixed on the red planet. "This is just the beginning," he said softly, his voice carrying a mix of awe and determination. "We are explorers, pioneers of a new era. Our journey has only just begun." Rebecca placed a hand on his shoulder. "We've made history, David, and we'll continue to do so, one mission at a time." Andrew, Sarah, and Nathaniel joined them at the viewport, their expressions mirroring the mix of emotions that David felt. Together, they gazed out at Mars, united by their shared dream and the promise of what lay ahead. The Vanguard floated silently in orbit, a symbol of human ingenuity and the relentless pursuit of knowledge. The crew's reflections and celebrations were a testament to their courage and determination, their eyes now set on the future and the endless possibilities it held. As the red planet turned slowly below them, the crew of the Vanguard knew that they were at the dawn of a new era in human exploration. The challenges they had faced and the triumphs they had achieved would inspire generations to come. United by their mission and strengthened by their journey, they were ready to continue their exploration of the cosmos, driven by the promise of discovery and the unyielding spirit of adventure. The final scene was one of quiet reflection and profound anticipation, the crew standing together as they looked out at the vast expanse of space and the endless horizon of possibilities. The dawn of a new era in human exploration had begun, and the crew of the Vanguard was at its forefront, ready to lead the way into the unknown. Epilogue. The Vanguard's mission to Mars was hailed as a monumental achievement within the walls of astrodynamics. Yet, the world remained unaware of the historic event. Secrecy was paramount to the organization's mission, and the details of the journey were carefully guarded. Back on Earth, the crew of the Vanguard returned to a hero's welcome within the secluded confines of Astrodynamics headquarters. The debriefing sessions were exhaustive, each crew member recounting their experiences, challenges, and triumphs in meticulous detail. The data they had collected was invaluable, setting the stage for the next phase of Mars exploration. David Hamilton stood before the gathered executives and scientists, his voice steady and resolute. Our mission to Mars was a success, but it's only the beginning. We've proven that we can reach Mars, that we can survive the journey and the challenges it presents. Now, we need to build on that success. Rebecca Hartman presented her findings, the evidence of past microbial life on Mars. These discoveries confirm that Mars once harbored life. The implications are profound, not just for science, but for our understanding of life itself. Our next mission must focus on expanding this research. Andrew Palmer outlined the technical and navigational challenges they had faced, emphasizing the need for continued innovation. We've identified areas for improvement in our systems and protocols. With these refinements, our future missions will be even more efficient and safe. Sarah Robinson discussed the engineering feats that had kept the Vanguard operational. Our systems performed well under extraordinary conditions, but there's always room for improvement. We need to continue pushing the boundaries of what's possible. Nathaniel Price spoke about the crew's physical and mental resilience. Our team's health was maintained thanks to rigorous preparation and monitoring. Future missions will benefit from enhanced medical protocols and support systems. The executives of Astrodynamics listened intently, their faces reflecting a mix of pride and anticipation. The success of the Vanguard's mission had validated their investment and vision. Plans were already underway for the next phase: a permanent research station on Mars, deeper exploration of the Martian surface, and eventually, human colonization. Despite the excitement, secrecy remained a priority. The crew's achievements were celebrated in a private ceremony, attended only by those directly involved in the project. In a secluded conference room, far from the prying eyes of the media, the crew stood before a small gathering of dignitaries and scientists. David spoke on behalf of the team. We stand here today, not just as individuals, but as representatives of what humanity can achieve when we push the boundaries of exploration. Our journey to Mars was a collective effort, and it's an honor to share this moment with all of you. The applause was heartfelt, the recognition deeply personal. Each crew member was awarded a medal, their names inscribed with the date of their return and the emblem of Astrodynamics. These medals, like their mission, were a symbol of their courage, resilience, and dedication. In the quiet moments after the ceremony, the crew gathered privately. They reflected on their journey, the challenges they had faced, and the bonds they had forged. They knew that their story would remain untold for now, locked away in the annals of Astrodynamics archives. But they also knew that one day, the world would learn of their achievements. Rebecca looked around at her teammates, her eyes filled with gratitude. We've made history, even if the world doesn't know it yet. One day, they will. And when that day comes, they'll see what we've accomplished together. Andrew nodded, his expression one of quiet pride. Until then, we keep pushing forward. We've got more work to do. Sarah's voice was filled with determination. This is just the beginning. We're part of something much bigger than ourselves. Nathaniel added, and we'll continue to support each other, no matter what comes next. David's gaze swept over his team, his heart swelling with pride. We are pioneers, explorers of a new frontier. Our journey doesn't end here. It's only just begun. As the crew of the Vanguard prepared for their next mission, they knew they were part of a legacy that would one day inspire future generations. Their achievements, recorded in secrecy, awaited the moment when they could be shared with the world. In the silence of the conference room, the significance of their journey resonated deeply. The red planet, visible through the small window, symbolized the dawn of a new era in human exploration. The crew's legacy was secure, their story poised to become a beacon of hope and inspiration for all of humanity. And so, with their eyes fixed on the future and their hearts united by their shared experiences, the crew of the Vanguard embraced the challenges and opportunities that lay ahead. The dawn of a new era had begun, and they were ready to lead the way.